Life had always been simple, or at least I thought it was. Ayesha and I had been married for 5 years. Our home was in a quiet, older neighborhood, an area where everyone knew each other and things moved at a slower pace. It felt like we were living the perfect suburban dream. Ayesha, my wife, was my world. She was beautiful, intelligent, and we shared the kind of love that everyone envied. But life, as it always does, began to change in ways I never expected. It all started when a new neighbor moved in across the street. His name was Arif. He was everything I wasn't: handsome, athletic, and confident in a way that made everyone around him feel drawn to him. He was in his late 20s, and he carried himself with the kind of charisma that couldn't go unnoticed. At first, I didn't think much of it. He greeted everyone with a smile, including Ayesha, and it seemed like a simple, friendly interaction. I brushed it off, but soon I began to notice something that I couldn't ignore. Ayesha, who had always been home on time after her work, was spending more and more time outside. I'd come home from a tiring day at the office to find her chatting with Arif in the garden, laughing over coffee, or just talking about life. I didn't think it was anything more than casual conversation. But then, one evening, I came home earlier than usual, and that's when I saw it. Ayesha was sitting with Arif on the porch. They weren't just talking. They were in a deep conversation, their eyes locked in a way I had never seen before. There was an undeniable chemistry between them, and something inside me shifted. At that moment, I should have asked her what was going on. I should have confronted her right there, but I didn't. I wanted to believe the best in her, and I told myself that maybe I was overthinking it. After all, she's always been a good wife, and Arif was just a neighbor. I wanted to trust her, so I chose to ignore the unsettling feeling creeping inside me. But over the next few weeks, things only grew worse. Ayesha started spending more time at Arif's apartment, which she claimed was just as a friendly gesture, helping him settle in. She would come back late, always with an excuse, and I couldn't shake the feeling that something was off. The closeness between them became impossible to ignore. There were moments when she would return home wearing a new fragrance I didn't recognize, and I could tell she had been out for hours, only to return with vague explanations. It became clear to me that something had changed. Then, one day, Ayesha told me that she was going on a vacation with her friends for a few days. She hadn't mentioned this before, and it felt unusual, but I didn't think much of it at first. Maybe she needed a break, a bit of time away to recharge. I agreed, although deep down, I felt this nagging suspicion that I couldn't shake. I'd always trusted Ayesha, but the way things had been lately made me uneasy. It was during this time, when she was away, that I got a phone call from a close friend. His voice was low, almost hesitant, as he told me something that made my world fall apart. He had seen Ayesha and Arif together on multiple occasions, not just as friends, but in a way that seemed far more intimate. They were seen out at restaurants, walking hand in hand, laughing in a way that went beyond mere friendship. My heart sank. I felt a wave of disbelief wash over me, followed by a deep sense of betrayal. How could she? How could Ayesha, the woman I married, the woman I trusted, be seeing someone else? When Ayesha came back, I didn't say anything immediately. I tried to stay calm, hoping that maybe this was all just some misunderstanding, but when she walked in, I could tell that something was different about her. She was distant, colder than usual, and there was a certain air of confidence about her that I didn't recognize. I asked her about her trip, and she casually mentioned that everything was great, but she didn't offer any details about where she had been or who she had been with. I decided it was time to confront her. That night, as we sat at the dinner table, I asked her about Arif, about the time they had spent together, the way things had seemed to change between us. Ayesha's face turned pale, but she quickly recovered, flashing me a smile. "It's nothing, just a friendship," she said. "You're overreacting." But I could see it in her eyes. She wasn't telling me the whole truth. Her reaction confirmed everything I had feared. There was more to it than just a friendship. The following days were a blur. My suspicions were confirmed again and again, and I realized that Ayesha had already moved on. She had no intention of staying in our marriage. It wasn't just about Arif anymore. It was about her choosing a different path for herself, one that didn't include me. I didn't want to accept it, but I knew deep down that our relationship had already ended. The woman I thought I knew was gone. She was no longer the Ayesha I had married, and as much as it hurt, I knew what I had to do. I filed for divorce. When I told Ayesha, there was no argument, no pleading, just a coldness in her eyes that I had never seen before. She didn't try to stop me. In fact, she almost seemed relieved, as if she had been waiting for this moment. "If you think filing for divorce will fix anything, then you're wrong," she said, almost with a hint of sarcasm. This was going to happen eventually. The divorce went through quickly. A few weeks later, Ayesha and Arif announced their engagement. My heart broke in ways I never thought possible. It felt as though everything I had worked for, everything I had believed in, had been shattered in an instant. The person I had loved, trusted, and built my life with had chosen someone else, and there was nothing I could do about it. The pain was unbearable, but over time, I realized something important. I had lost more than just Ayesha. I had lost my own sense of self-worth. I had given so much of myself to someone who didn't value me, and I was left questioning everything I thought I knew about love and marriage. But as the months passed, I began to rebuild. I focused on myself, my career, and my own happiness. It wasn't easy, and there were many nights when I wondered if I would ever feel whole again. But eventually, I realized that I didn't need Ayesha to complete me. I could make my own happiness, and that was the most empowering realization of all. The divorce was just the beginning of my journey to self-discovery. I learned that sometimes, no matter how much we love someone, we can't make them love us back. And sometimes, we have to let go of what we thought was forever to find something better for ourselves.